I'm going to show you the best way to get at the root cause of those dark circles underneath your eyes. It's called periorbital dark circles. Now, typically, when you look this up, you're going to see a million different remedies, okay? And they do work. The problem is they only work temporarily. You have to keep applying them over and over and over. You can use kojic acid, and you can use vitamin C, aloe vera, niacinamide, which is a type of B3, or you can even use cucumber extract or cucumbers. So any of these will work temporarily. Simply take the remedy and rub it underneath your eyes and give it, some days or even weeks. So what do all of these have in common? They inhibit melanin, okay, which causes this pigmentation in your skin. And that's cool that you can do that. There's probably not a lot of side effects, but I want to talk about the two underlying root causes to this problem so you can actually permanently get rid of this. Now, the first one involves understanding just a little bit about your hormone system, okay? You have this little gland in the brain called the pituitary, and it sends signals down through the body. And one of the tissues that it controls is the adrenal glands. You have two of them deep into your abdomen. Okay. The adrenal glands produce a lot of different hormones, but there's one that is called cortisol, and that is a stress hormone. So the pituitary sends a signal down to the adrenal when there's perceived stress, and that pituitary hormone is called ACTH. It hits the adrenal, and then the adrenal produces cortisol. Once cortisol is produced, that amount of cortisol that is produced reaches up to the pituitary and tells the pituitary to turn off to stop producing this circuit. And so now that ACTH can stop being activated. Now, it just so happens when you go through a period of stress called chronic stress, which could include loneliness, losses, or anything to raise your level of cortisol, like synthetic cortisol, prednisone, medications, etc. What's going to happen next is your body's going to develop this cortisol resistance, very similar to insulin resistance. And if you want to look this up, this is a real condition. Okay, it's called glucocorticoid receptor resistance. Now, what happens in this situation is because of the excess communication coming down from the pituitary, that could be a bit too dangerous. So your receptors kind of shut down and inhibit the absorption of cortisol into the cells. And this is a protective mechanism. What's going to happen next is you're going to have a deficiency of cortisol. So the communication is being sent, but it's not being received. So it's kind of like talking to someone but they're completely ignoring you. So what are you going to do? You're going to start shouting at them, right? Eventually, you're going to start talking louder. And that's exactly what the pituitary starts doing. It starts to increase its level of communication. Why? Because it's not getting through. Okay. Your pituitary thinks that you have a cortisol deficiency, but in reality, it's just resistance in the receptor. It's definitely a deficiency, but it's because there's too much cortisol. So anytime you have too much ACTH, you're going to have a big spike in this other hormone called melanocyte stimulating hormone. And that's where you get the increase in melanin, which is that darkening of your skin. And very commonly, it can occur right underneath your eyes. Now, this is a problem because not only are you going to get this darkening underneath your eyes, but you're going to have all the other symptoms that come along with cortisol resistance. You see, cortisol helps you adapt to stress. Okay, it puts your body into a stress state to help you overcome a stressful situation. But now we have a situation that we have stress, but unfortunately without the benefit of cortisol. So now you get more inflammation in the body, and that can happen on the skin as other problems. You're more susceptible to infection. Your immune system actually becomes very dysfunctional, et cetera, et cetera. So, what could be done with this cortisol deficiency that's really causing this problem? Number one, you have to do something about your stress. You have to reduce it in any way, shape, or form. And I'm talking about the actual source of the stress, no matter what it is. And to flush out the stress, start increasing regular aerobic exercise where you're actually not producing a lot of stress, but you're running or flushing out all this adrenaline and cortisol out of the system. Actually, if you do physical work outside, that is even better than exercise because it also relieves the mental component to stress because it shifts your attention to something else. Far too often, when someone works out and they're on the treadmill, whatever, or at the gym, they're thinking about these stressful moments at the same time, unfortunately. So it's really sometimes hard to extract the attention on that stress situation. Okay, the next thing is sleep. Okay, get more sleep, take more naps, go to bed earlier, sleep in later. The next thing to do, and this is something that is very important, vitamin D3. Okay, I would take probably 20 to 30,000 IUs of vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 acts like cortisol in the body, but without the side effects. So it can give you some benefits of this cortisol immediately. Magnesium is probably one of the most important minerals to take. And then also limit the amount of screen time. Looking into the computer, that can really strain the eyes. And it's just unfortunately not very healthy, even though we all do it. The next thing is reduce insulin. Okay. You see this in diabetics. Diabetics have this condition where they have kind of this dark, velvety skin in the folds of their body, sometimes around their neck, armpits. And what's happening is they have high levels of insulin, okay, and insulin resistance that is raising this melanocyte stimulating hormone. And this is a really easy one to correct if you understand what's happening. All you have to do is bring your carbs down to 20 grams or less per day. And then just not eat so frequently. Skip the snacks, skip breakfast, and just have two or even one meal a day. Okay. You combine that with lowering your stress, and you will see a lightening of these dark circles under your eye, which will then remain absent. I have a lot more to say on this topic. If you haven't seen this video on stress, you should check it out. I put it up right here.